Yeah.
You brief us, right?
All right. Yeah. Good evening, guys. This is week 4 of Purpose, Vision, and Dreams, the ongoing monthly series. Um, yeah. Uh, Winnie, you want to give a brief recap on all the things we've discussed so far, what you think we've discussed, and then I'll probably give a recap from my perspective, and then yeah. So just a short summary.
Okay. Basically, we're talking about like diligence and purpose,
Yeah.
and we are now on vision, dream, and purpose. Been doing that for a while now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last week we talked about the plane theory. We linked purpose to the plane thing, and we talked about how um nothing really happens easily, and like the
Yeah.
plane of things go into moving to the next level. That's from land to like air,
Yeah.
and it looks easy from the third
Yeah.
eye, but with the pilots and the engineers, they know that it takes much more. And
Yeah.
so yeah, we talked about before that. We talked about the need for change in Nigeria and how the link
Perspective,
between
right?
dreams and purpose, right? Yeah.
By third eye, you mean third person perspective, right?
Yeah, third person
Yeah.
perspective.
All right. Carry on. Carry on. What were you
Yeah.
saying?
So before that we talked about Nigeria and
Mhm.
purpose and dreams and
Yeah.
how a lot more people get, you know, uh lost
Mm.
if they have purpose and everything like that. And the first week we talked about what purpose was basically.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
that's what I remember.
Great. That was a great summary, actually. Nice. All right. I'll just like recap again, do a expatiate a little bit, and then like because I have a list of like the stuff we've done, so I'll just like give bullet points summaries. So week 1, vision, dreams, and purpose. We talked about how one of the main points that like sort of resonated with me, which I remembered and remember to put down, obviously, is not every thought or imagination is your purpose. And this clearly, like, because we're human beings, we have minds, they wonder, you can't possibly follow every single thought you have. If not, like, there's just not enough time in the world to do that. But there was also a deeper meaning in the sense that we took the definition of purpose to be the biblical definition, which is basically something you have been preordained for, or like sort of called for, or like I'm a bit reluctant to use the word predestined because I feel like it's probably wrongly termed, and it doesn't. When people use it, they don't really account for the possibility of free will, which does exist. But if I say predestined, I would say like in sense of like a position. For example, you might be, it's like being elected to be like or nominated to be like a principal or something, I don't know, or like a president or something. Like it doesn't mean that everything you sort of do is pre-planned. It's just position kind of thing. So that's when I say predestined, that's the sort of thing I mean. I don't mean like every single one of your actions is for planned, because we still have free will, we still have that sort of thing. So yeah. um so yeah, we that's what we took it for. We took purpose to mean a preordained position that possibly with your skills and your potential and everything that was put in you, like God sort of set you out for, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
We had a yeah, we had the so we differentiated between dreams, visions, and purpose. We said purpose is that basically it's God ordained, but Vision and dreams are the tools which we have to sort of understand purpose, sort of get a glimpse with our limited knowledge of what we're supposed to be driven to do, if that makes sense. Yeah. Thirdly, we like you said, tons of information bombarding us from every angle, because we're born and raised in a society where like everybody has something to say. Like there is influences from social media, from friends, even family. Everybody wants to sort of influence your life one way or the other. You yourself, as you're growing up, you may not know exactly what you want to do. With so much choice, you can easily get drowned in the endless sea of information and distractions, a lot of which, probably 70% of which, are non-beneficial. So yeah, it's very, very easy to get lost. The fourth thing we talked about, this was still, I think, week 1, was with all this having been said, we talked about how dreams must be treated very carefully. And I would say, and with caution, like an egg. I would say, like, for example, Joseph sort of went around telling everyone he could think of his dreams, and look where that ended him. I mean, like, in the end, it was all worked for good. Like, it all ended up good, but like, it doesn't change the fact that what he did was probably not the best or wisest thing to do. So yeah. Week 2, we talked about how Nigerian culture builds resilience because it's just so toxic that to survive you just have to build like a I mean, it has a lot of good aspects that, like, there's some things that we have that nobody on this planet, no country can put a flame to. But at the same time, I feel like our strengths and our weaknesses are very, very closely intertwined. And in order to move forward, we have to separate those weaknesses, because we can't continue accepting and like being okay with the status quo. And like, it's always been, we can't continue with the mentality that, oh, it's always been done like that, so let's continue like that. Like, no, that's not how life works or humanity works. People learn from their mistake, they move forward. That's just common sense. So yeah, we talked about how, despite Nigerian culture being amazing, how it has a lot of toxic aspects which can help build resilience, but at the same time it can easily damage people and kill their dreams, because there's a lot of peer pressure, there's a lot of insecurity. Sometimes it builds insecurity when there's so much peer pressure, when there's so much influence, when there's so much bullying, that sort of thing. So like that sort of excessive, non-friendly competition sometimes can be toxic. That sort of, and it breeds, it can and does breed hypocrisy a lot of the time, which is why our politics is the way it is. Because like if you start off at a low level being hypocritical, then when you get to a higher level, you get more money, and all money does is amplify what is in you. It doesn't really change you, it just makes it more obvious. So when you have more resources to be hypocritical with, your hypocrisy will become even clearer. That's just what it is. If you were good with small, when you get there, I mean, you might get because of the toxic environment, you might get sucked in, but at least people still see that, at least, okay, yeah, he's got good traits. You get what I'm saying? So like, yeah. So, and that was week 2. Week 3, we said a lot of people underestimate how much it takes, especially for Nigeria, how much it takes, or how much it will take to get from one phase of life to the next. What everyone calls success, or yeah, I sort of, I'm a bit reluctant to use the cliche terms, because like, I personally, I just don't like cliche stuff. But to get success, to be prosperous, or to like yeah, those sort of things, they underestimate what it means. And a lot of people just think that you move from point A to point B. I think you pointed this out, that because like social media last week, social media sort of paints a picture of people getting from A to B, and they don't really pay any attention to the struggles, the amount of hard work, the sheer pain they had to go through day in, day out, endlessly to reach to move from point A to point B. They just portray it like it's it was one step from A to B, when in truth it might have been countless. And it's those steps that drown out a lot of people. Those steps, those many, many endless steps, that separates the people who succeed from people who don't. Because like I think, as a response to what you said, I said people who tend to succeed, they don't, the word that they don't see obstacles as a thing. Like obstacle is not in their dictionary. If there's an obstacle, they'll find a way around it, or they'll think of a way around it. They do not accept no for an answer. Pardon?
The obstacles become the opportunities, basically.
Exactly. With obstacles, they thrive in it, because when there's obstacles, they see it as a motivation to sort of push themselves even further. You get what I'm saying? So yeah, and those were the three things we talked about. So this week, I asked the question on our sort of study chat. I asked the question. Here we go. I'm trying to get it up. I asked the question: how do we trials, the massive ocean of information and people trying to influence you to do what they want you to do? Everybody giving you their opinions, everybody telling you, oh, this can work like this, they can work like this. Discouragement, your failures in the past, the pain, the struggles, the good, the bad, the ugly. How do we live through all of that? How do you move? How do you, knowing there's such a great task ahead, how do you go through it without like caving in? And you gave a good response, Whitney. Could you read that out, or just, if you don't want to read it out, you could just like riff it from the top of your head?
Yeah, I could just read it.
Yeah.
What I said was that by trusting that God's time and holding on to those little moments that give hope. To the scripture, Isaiah 40:31. For those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on the wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint.
Yeah. I just want to read that again. Isaiah. Pardon? What were you saying?
Okay. No, just go ahead.
But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. They will run and not grow weary. They will walk and not be faint. Right. What were you going to say?
I was just going to stress on like my first two lines.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like when you're going through all that, in the time of the hustles, when you're hustling, you should sort of try and build a consciousness that God's time is the best time.
Pardon? You said you should sort of try and build a consciousness?
That God's time is the best time. I mean, when you're always conscious of the fact that, okay, right now it's not awesome, it's not like rosy, but the time is coming. Like, you should like believe that time is there when everything will be all right. And from that, you should draw
from that you should draw.
That's your strength, like to thrive the bad times, because it would sort of, everything would add up.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's it basically. Because like even in like the everyday, even in everyday life, like when you look at people who've succeeded in general, that is what they do. Like, I'm gonna say.
I mean, like,
I'm gonna say. Pardon? You mean like if?
Yeah, I was going to mention, like, how one person, if somebody is starting a business for the first time, they aren't too sure, and like they want to give up like 5,000 times, but those that keep pushing and succeeding, if their business collapses, like the business collapses in future, when they go back the second time, they are more certain of their actions and decisions. Like,
yeah,
I have done this before,
yeah,
and it got me.
yeah,
So even though I'm going through a lot of hustles right now, I know that I can do it. You get that kind
yeah,
of thing.
yeah.
So yeah,
I think
like
yeah. I think the biggest problem is people being afraid to sort of fall. And don't get me wrong, that is
uh-huh.
irrational. Yeah, that is rational. You should be afraid to fall because, like, you don't want to break yourself. You get what I mean? But at the same time,
Yeah.
it's just character. It's character, and character is a simple word, but it encapsulates a lot. Like, it encapsulates self control, self discipline, self understanding. So being able to understand yourself, understand and be content in the fact that you have strengths and weaknesses. Know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and don't compare yourself to anyone else, and don't try to compete against anyone else. Just try to be the best you can possibly be, because when you are the best you can possibly be, nobody else on the surface of the planet will be able to be that you, because no one has your life's experiences. They might have similar experiences, but no one has lived your exact life with the combination of events and has seen what you've
Uh-huh.
seen exactly the way you've seen it. So you push yourself. Everyone has their race to run. It's not a competition. You push yourself to the max, that sort of thing. So, like, yeah, I completely agree. That is that is what it takes to get there. Character and understanding these things. So I mentioned a few things. I mentioned self-control. I mentioned self-discipline. I mentioned self-understanding. Now, it's one thing to understand yourself. It's another thing to have control over like yourself in your understanding of yourself. So like a lot of people know they're not good at stuff, but then they don't take any actions or like steps to cover up their weaknesses with their strengths, or sort of account for their weaknesses. And I mean, yeah, you could say like you could say the person, it doesn't know how to do it, and that is a very valid argument. So like it would help a lot, and it does help a lot, because I've had mentors, I've mentored people. There's stuff I've had to learn on my own, and I honestly don't know why I had to learn them on my own. And I mentored people who were so much better off because they didn't have to learn it on their own, like as they went along. And so it's just it's statistically proven that people who are loved tend to be a lot more confident, the way we're explaining. So they're actually more likely to be more successful, because there's something about love that just, and I think that's what you were touching on. So the Bible says perfect love casts out fear, and it describes Jesus Christ as the definition of love. So even if you're not a Christian, I strongly believe that even non-Christians are able to tap into this, because like it does happen. You see it, like they are so confident. I heard something at church once. It said, the preacher said, true strength is not drawn from being able to stand and build and carry weights on your own. It's having enough support to be able to push you up to carry those weights. And it made so much sense, because that's where the phrase standing on the shoulders of giants comes from. Like, if every single time someone needed to do something, they had to recreate the wheel, then there would be a serious problem. And I feel like that's probably what we suffer a lot from in Nigeria, the fact that everybody's competing against each other. No one sort of wants to help. And like every single time someone wants to do something, they have to sort of recreate the wheel, because everyone is like, oh no, I don't want to show what he has, because like if I do, like he might be better than me. But then the problem is you're actually hurting yourself. Look at the music industry, for example. They've been able to break away from that and actually work together, and look at the immensely good things we've been able to create in our entertainment and music industries. If we applied that to the rest of Nigeria, we would move forward. We would literally like really move forward. And I don't just mean pretending to work together. I mean actually working together. Like look at how epic. Everyone heard about the Davido concert, like, and how he and Wizkid, after arguing, sort of came together. And look at how epic that was. That literally shook Africa. Like, so yeah, that is the power of love. That is strength. That is true strength. When you're able to have people to support you so you can move forward. And like I was saying before I deviated on this, I was saying true strength is drawn from there, because that's what that people who statistically proven that people who are loved more, or who are very very well suited and very well rooted in love. So either they were very well loved by their parents or stuff, or mothers. So for boys it tends to be mothers, for girls it tends to be fathers. Either they were very much loved and taken care of, or they went through hard stuff and then got broken to the point that they were able to develop a very very great amount of a very very immense amount of self-worth and self-value and self. So when you're loved you develop self-worth, but you can go through things that also help you develop self-worth. So like people who get to that point are the people who tend not to be afraid of falling, because they're able to take a step back, analyze the situation, and calculate the risk, and not care what people think. Caring what people think is actually, I would say 60, I might be exaggerating, but in my opinion, is 60% of what stops people from achieving great things, because everyone is afraid of, oh, if I fall, people are going to think this about me. A lot of people make it in life, they don't care what people think about them when they fall, because they've fallen so many times in front of people that to them it doesn't even matter anymore. And because it doesn't matter, they're able to push, they break through that shell of self-consciousness and like caring what people think, and actually they're able to see their vision more clearly, and then they no longer have that weight, that gravity that we spoke of last week, the law of gravity that tries to pull you back, because it's not holding them anymore. They don't, I mean, you're there saying stuff, but to them it's everyday life. They're like, yeah, cool. They're like, yeah. So a lot of time they even expect it. They use it to push themselves forward when they hear those sorts of things. I have a friend he's into music. I post his songs sometimes. He says when he shows people songs and he gets feedback, he hates more than anything neutral feedback. He said he would much prefer you either extremely love it or extremely hate it, because when you have extreme responses to something, it means that there's something deep inside it that is causing those emotions. So, and the reason he gave is because he said if you give like oh yeah, it's okay, then there's not much you can do, because that means it's not spectacular and it's not that it's not that different to the point that it's causing emotions in you. It's just mundane, and he hates mundane. He's an artist, so like, yeah, I can understand that. I hate mundane as well. So yeah, that's the thing. Like, and I was talking to him a few days ago. He was telling me about something he read, where they actually repeated exactly what he said. So like, people who succeed, they know these things. Like, these are things you learn by not society, but like society, the prisons of society, and living for the expectations of society. Yeah, if that makes sense. I feel like I've talked a lot. Whitney, what do you got to say?
I just link it to something more people can relate to, because I mean the music thing, some of us are
yeah
the traits just like that. So for example, you know, like how in school you have like grades from A to F. So you know how people like are just calm, and they don't want to fail, but it's not like they want to be Einstein, so they just cruising. I mean, you know, some people just they can't stand you, because if for me, for example, just use me, like if I write an essay and I give it to my teacher and she's like, and I know I'm struggling with it and I want to get better, and she's like,
yeah,
it's okay, and I'm like, so what should I do? Like, what more can I do? And then she's like, oh, it's fine. I'm like, it's not fine. Like, what? Like, so I guess some people just being neutral can get frustrated. That's basically what you're saying. I just thought I should use that example because I feel like it's more relatable. So yeah,
agree. I agree.
What question? Wait,
come again. You said what?
Can I just ask what question we're answering? Like,
oh no, we were
this example. What is it telling us?
we were
with
just dealing
respect
with how a
to?
lot of people on that we were dealing with how a lot of people underestimate the weight of how it gets of how much it gets to so how much it takes to reach the top. And I think we moved on to asking the question of how do you deal with that weight? How do you manage that weight? Like how do you live
Uh-huh.
with it without getting overwhelmed with everything that surrounds you? And
Yeah.
we just
So I guess
the
right now
answer was just
we're talking
yeah.
about,
What were you gonna say? Pardon?
I guess
What were you gonna
right
say?
now we're talking about mindset you need to adopt to be able to sort of dive, right?
Pardon? We're talking about what?
The mindset you need to adopt,
Yeah,
like
yeah,
to be able to reach that. Yeah.
yeah. And it's not just the
So we're
mindset, because
talking.
if you say mindset, people will think, okay, if I think this, then yeah. It starts with thinking that. That's right, but it's not just think. It's not just conscious thinking. Parts of it has to be subconscious, and for it to become subconscious thinking, it has to be something you've done over and over and over again. That it becomes a character. It becomes a habit. So it's not just. It's no
Uh-huh.
longer you just saying, okay, let me try and do this. It has become your nature. It's like if you were sleeping and someone woke you up, you've done it so much that if you were sleeping and someone woke you up, that would be your reflex reaction. You wouldn't even
Yeah.
think about it. You
Uh-huh.
just be like, yeah, that that's the difference between people who work very hard to make it and people who have worked very hard to the point that they are now the type of people who just make it. Do you get what I just said?
Oh, actually deep. Okay.
There's yeah. So like some people are working, and some people are working to make it in life. But some people
Uh-huh.
have worked to the point that they now are able to make life work for them. If that makes sense.
Whoosh. Okay, basically.
yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And that's the difference. That's the difference. For some people, it's like, oh, I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do this. There's so much weight. But for other people, they're like, oh yeah, the weight's there, but yeah, it's normal. I was talking to to my brother one day. I know Yoruba people are going to hate on me for saying this, but hey, I'm Yoruba. Sorry guys. But yeah, we are talking about how like how like a lot of Yoruba people, because Yoruba culture is quite. I mean, like everyone knows about Yoruba demons and stuff. Yoruba culture is shrouded with like traditional politics and like that sort of like flamboyant display of this that. But like when push comes to shove, like all the time, I mean,
Nothing to show
the
for.
Yorubas, yeah, it's like Hausa people can be extremely rich, but you never see it. But then Yoruba people, if they have money, like even if they don't have as much money, like you will see it in their whole life. Like you can't not see, if you get what I'm saying. But like,
Uh-huh. Exactly.
so we were talking. I was talking with my brother, and like we came to the realize, because we were discussing the three tribes, and we came to like conclude that Igbo people are the most hardworking, and then we were wondering why. So we were trying to analyze why, and then we decided that it was because unlike Yoruba people they'll be walking and you see them even in Yoruba movies. You see it. Whilst they're walking, they'll be wiping their sweat. They'll be like, "Hey, this work is a lot." But for Igbo people, they see it as normal life, and that's the difference.
Yeah.
Somebody sees it as a burden. Someone sees it as normal life to the point that they can probably even find joy in it, and that's the difference between
Exactly.
somebody. Yeah, that's the difference between somebody who is working to succeed and somebody who success is working for.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
There's, and I mean, it's everywhere. There's some people who just like everything they touch turns to gold. Like look at Steve Jobs. I was so shocked to find out that he created Pixar. Did you know that?
Uh-uh.
He set up Pixar. Like what? That guy was a genius. Like everything he touched turned to gold, basically. And he
It
went
sort of
through a lot.
connects to what you said. Yeah, he did. He did.
Yeah. What were you saying? You said it sort of
But
connects to what you. Pardon?
what you just said about how you do it. If the person does it enough, then it just becomes.
Exactly.
Yorubas, they're still hustling. Basically, they're still in the hustling phase where it's a burden. But with people, it's a generational. It has been passed on from generation to generation to the point where it's now in it. Like a virtue from that tribe. Do you get? Yeah.
TD Jakes even talked about it. He was like, apparently the guy is Igbo. He was like, he traced his roots on a talk show. He traced his roots. He was like, I think they asked him what would he say was the reason he's been able to rise up from such challenging circumstances and always seem to come out on top. And he said it's just his work ethic. He said he was like, it's my work that like he actually gave is like and that is his work ethic, that if he was placed in a Hello,
if he was placed where?
We went offline for a bit, but we're back. If it was placed like with the people he works with, so people who work for him, he says when he walks into the office, like if he has to work in the same environment, he will work everybody else under the team. And then he started giving the reason. Hey, Bami is in.
I'm here to defend.
Welcome.
You're here to defend
my people.
That's my brother, guys. He's also Yoruba. But he's more Yoruba than me.
Don't let me see Yoruba people anyhow. It's fine. First things first, Yoruba people are more hardworking. They're just no smart. Wait, if you give a Yoruba person the same work to do, the Yoruba person will do it for as long as he needs to do it. It's just that we're not smart. We don't know how to create shortcuts. That's the problem. Second thing,
that's not true. Yoruba people are always trying to create shortcuts, guy. Like we're the ones who do shortcuts.
That's the people. No, we work. The people, we can create any shortcut we need. And even when we don't need to create shortcuts, but we work. Yoruba people love money too much. That's why they're doing the work. Because they see fastest route to money. No matter what's going on, they see the fastest route to money. I'm here to defend my people. For the last 20 minutes or so, I've been hearing you guys dissing my culture on YouTube.
I didn't diss your culture. I was fair. I was fair.
No, but I agree, though.
Pardon?
I agree, though. It's all true.
Yeah.
I don't even know how this fun was. I've literally been choice for the last 40 minutes or 30 minutes. I've been trying to get Hangouts to work. Apparently,
you've been trying to get Hangouts to work.
Yeah, apparently it doesn't work. Calls don't work on Edge, so I had to install what they call it, Google Chrome. So yeah, fun here.
You said he had to install Google Chrome. You have to install Google Chrome because like his Hangouts are sort of not working. So,
yeah, but I'm here now. That's your
That's cool.
I mean, you have to have earbuds.
What do you say?
You have earbuds.
Yeah.
I can't hear Whitney anymore.
You can't hear me?
What did Whitney say? I can't hear Whitney anymore.
I think she said, do I have my earbuds in? My earphones.
Oh, do you have them in?
Yeah, I do.
Why is there so much? It's like really.
I do not know. Well, these before I would switch to my other earphones, I'm using on the earphones. So, let's see.
When you came on, I was going to ask why you sounded like Megatron or Busy Voltron or Nida.
I think you're confused slightly. Just ever so slightly. Yo, can you hear me now, though?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah, you sort of got clearer. So what happened? Why wasn't it as clear before?
Earphones. I think the mic was. Well, I bought £5 earphones, so it's my fault. But yeah.
At least yours is better. My Samsung earphones have just decided not to work. Like they
All
just ended.
my earphones decided not to work. That's why I bought 5,000 for it. I bought about 3.
Let's get back to topic. Let's get back to topic.
Yeah.
Like,
all right.
about like
Pardon? Whitney, I can't hear you no more.
Hello?
I can't hear your signal is sort of coming in and out.
No?
Could you do? Yeah, I can hear you. But I mean, if you're not talking, could you mute your mic and then when you talk, like unmute it so I can hear Whitney because her signal is not too strong, and mine isn't either. So it's sort of when you're not talking, mute your mic, but when you are, unmute it. Because Whitney's signal isn't too strong. All right, Whitney.
You can hear me now.
Yeah, I can hear you now. Say what you're gonna say.
Yeah, what I was saying was that could you brief Bami on progress on the topic?
Oh, okay.
Like on
so Bami basically, I think Bami said he was following it if I heard him correctly. But basically, we summarized what we talked about before, and now we were addressing this week. We started with addressing how you can sort of live through all the difficulty, all the oceans of doubts, the oceans of like distractions, oceans of like information, people trying to tell you what to do, how to do it, the indecision or indecisiveness, how do you live through it? And then we came to we're discussing it, but we're sort of coming to the conclusion that it's all about character and perspective and nature. So for some people, they view work as work, whilst other people just view it as life. And for the people who view it as a burden, then obviously it won't be nice. But if you come to a point where you now view it as you're used to it, and if you wake up, like you can wake up in the morning and it'd be the first thing you do without even thinking, and like you just see it as life, then you will become you'll be able to find joy in it, as opposed to someone who sees it as a burden. And when you do, then it will no longer be a problem, because then you would just succeed, as opposed to someone who's trying so hard to make life work for him. Life will already be working for you, and it'll just be a matter of waiting for the fruits of the seeds you've sown to sort of like bear fruit, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's adds up. With respect to make like people might find it a bit difficult to create that habit that you're talking about. You said we have to keep doing it, keep working, keep thriving, and it will end up benefiting us in the short, longish run. Yeah. But the thing is, in that moment where you are pushing yourself to making it become the norm, if you naturally don't click, I mean, like, look at it. The Yorubas have been doing it for so long. They have been working. It's not like they haven't been working, right? They have been working for so. But what makes the Igbos different? Like, why did ours become normal to us? And there's like they've been hustling for so long, but it still is a burden to them. Why haven't they reached the point where it's beneficial?
They haven't. That's my point. That's my point. That's my argument. That's the basis of my argument. They haven't. There are Yoruba people who have, and they have reached that point. I've seen it. I've learned from such people. I, for one, like I'm reaching that point. I feel like I probably reached it, but because of where I'm going, it's a lot. Like probably, I don't know, but yeah, I've got a lot to do. So like I have to reach it at a high level as opposed to reaching it at a low level. If that makes any sense. But my point is they haven't. Like I said with my brother, they're always trying to find shortcuts, or they don't. So one vital thing is you have to be able to face things for what they truly are. The Yoruba culture is a bit political. We don't address issues we shroud them in like tradition and like this that, but like the main thing is being able to address issues for what they are. And what does that mean? That means if there's a fire and there's something you care about, let's say like your vision, and you need to go through that fire, you can't deceive yourself that you need to go through that fire and get close to the fire and be like, oh, I'm trying so hard, but not actually be going in it, if you get what I'm saying. You just have to go through it. Accept that it's a fire. Don't pretend. Yeah. So at the same time, don't pretend that it's not a fire. Don't pretend that it's not as dangerous as it is. But at the same time, it's a problem. It needs to be solved. So you find a solution and you get through that fire instead of dancing around it. If you need to wear like firefighter costume, you find the firefighter costume whichever way and get through the fire instead of talking about it or discussing about it.
Talking.
Pardon?
Yeah. That's the thing. Your words are like all mouth, no action. No offense, Rami. Just by the way. But yeah, I get the message.
I know some Yorubas who are even more action than Igbo people also. Like Yoruba people, there's the thing about Yoruba people, they find it hard to get to that point, but when they get to that point, they're basically unstoppable. Like, because we're just so extra that when we get to that point, we just put extra inside. And like, you can't stop them, literally. Wizkid is one example of that. Nothing is stopping that guy. I used to like underrate him a bit, but like, forget that, man. That guy's work ethic, nothing is stopping that guy. He may not be the best artist in the world, but nothing is stopping him.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of Yoruba people tend to do well in the entertainment industry, because that's something they genuinely like, and that's something that they're willing to go to the fire for. They're willing to stick to it. Mm-hmm. So like once they key into that thing, look at them, like look at Yemi Alade, look at Daria Alade, look at, like, I can keep going. Wizkid, D'banj, like that place is flooded with Mohit. Is Mohit Don Jazzy? He's Yoruba, B? Yeah, definitely. He's definitely Yoruba. That guy's accent is Yoruba for life. Guy has the most Yoruba accents in the world. Korede Bello, they're full in that place, man. they park themselves there. Go. But yeah.
True.
So yeah, this is what it is, man. Look at Adenuga, for example. He's Yoruba, and there's nothing stopping him.
So basically, what we are saying is that that we have to push ourselves to thriving,
and
for as long as
and it's
sort of
and I think half of the problem is just realizing it, though, like, because everyone feels like, I feel like this society has gotten to a place where everyone is so isolated, and so no one knows. Everyone has to sort of figure out everything on their own, and it's very hard. If you, like I said earlier, if you have to rebuild the wheel every single time, there's no way. Like, if we had to rebuild the wheel every single time we wanted to create a new form of technology, we would be riding, like, we wouldn't even be riding, we'd be riding chariots. Because, like,
we are switching back to the communal thing. Like, I think we are moving back to the communal, like, communities and teamwork and collaborations. I think we are moving back to life, the private type. We're coming back. Like, I always had when I was younger, like, I always saw society as a circle, because a lot of things just look very stupid to me. Like how we were naked in, like, the garden, and then we started clothing ourselves 100%, and now we're going back to nudity. So I'm like, circle, everything will being how it was before. So I mean, just look at cosmetics. It was all like herbal and natural, and then we started doing chemicals and stuff, and now everybody's on this organic thing. So everything is cool. Once it gets to the point where everything literally goes back to how it's supposed to be, or we try to get back to that.
Yeah.
And I just feel like that's like.
Well, first, most people who are on the organic thing are only on it so they can tell people that they're on the organic thing. It's very sad, but it's very true. But yeah, life is going back to what it used to be. It's going back to we're leaving the quote unquote complicated things behind and in favor of the more basic things of life. But right now it's a big thing to like spend a couple of days in a week without your phone or not use, just stay in nature and don't use like technology and stuff, or just simply don't take chemically made food, like you said, because it's basically God made the world what was good for us, and we deviated from that, but now we're realizing that what is good for us is already in the world, so we're all just going natural.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, fair enough. But like going back to the main question, that was actually a really good point. And yeah, going back to the main question, you said some people might find it difficult to sort of like go through the struggles and like go through the fire. And like we're talking about, it's all about like the answers. Like my brother said, they were already there. We just sort of deviated from them. And so now it's just all about going back to that, going back to like family, going back to like teamwork, going back to those sort of things. Like nobody can walk, you can't walk alone.
Mm-hmm.
That's like a nod to like something. It's like an inside joke between me and Bami. But yeah, nobody can walk alone. We were not made to be islands, but somehow society has pushed us to the point where it forces us to be islands. But people are sort of pushing that off. They're like, nah. They're realizing that that's not the way. Pardon?
No, Pardon? Just like nodding to what you're saying.
So yeah, we need mentors. That's why even the Bible says it. Girls need mothers. They need like female mentors, which probably they don't have much of these days because like all the women are trying to be self-made, and like everybody is trying to establish a name for themselves in the economic world and like commercial stuff and like marketing, so much so that they work 24/7 and don't have time for their own children or for the younger generation. And so we sort of have to try and figure stuff out on our own. And when we do, like, it's obviously not going to work out, right? Like, I mean, it seems to be working out quite well, thank God. But like, yeah, in some areas it's going to fall through, which it does. So yeah, mentors are needed. People who go through life, go through the pain, and know what's better are needed to tell the people who are coming up newly how to go about it. If not, everyone is going to have to try and keep building the wheel every single time, and that's just not necessary. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There's no need to sort of, if you're building a house, there's no need to sort of lay the foundation and start building, and then every day you leave and come back, you build the foundation again. Like, you'll never build anything. You just have many foundations and no house. You'll still be houseless.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I guess that wraps the session up.
Yeah, right? I think we should. I think we've actually covered quite a lot, and like it's been great. So next week we'll do the final wrap up. We'll sort of do a summary and then pinpoint what needs to be done for, because I think next week is the final week in February. So what needs to be done in terms of purpose, vision, and dreams, and we'll show the godly, like the biblical Christ love, true definition of it, and like how for Christians there's a possibility that it might actually be harder as a Christian to succeed than it is as a non-believer, because like from biblical analysis, like it probably takes there's a reason, I believe, which I might share next week, takes a lot more for a Christian than it does for others, and I'll give that reason next week. But yeah, here we go. Yeah. All right. So who wants to round us up?
Hi, Bami. Could you do us the honors?
Hello? Bami?
Bami.
Yeah.
I was asking who wants to round us up?
Oh, I think Whitney does.
Oh, I'm sorry.
She rounded us up last week. Wait, Bami, have you ever rounded us up before?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, he has.
All right, so I'll do it. I think I'm the only one who hasn't done it before. All right. Lord, thank you for giving us this opportunity to come together and just talk with each other as a family, like as friends. Thank you for all you've done for us. Thank you for what you will continue to do in our lives. The Bible says, what you start, you're faithful and just to complete. So we trust that you will complete the good works you started in each and every one of our lives, in the lives of every listener, and in the lives of Nigerians and Nigeria as a whole. We know you started something great in Nigeria, and we know that you will complete it. We thank you for everything, good and bad, because the Bible says in all things give thanks and joy in the Lord, because we know the bad things you've worked for good, and you've let them happen to build us in character and to make us stronger, and the good things you've given us as blessings to enjoy life and enjoy the moment, to alleviate any sort of troubles that we might have been going through, or just to make life better, even if we're not going through any troubles. I mean, yeah, not everybody goes through troubles. Some people just find life great. But Lord, we thank you for everything, and we're thankful, and we're joyful, we're expectant for what is to come. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
Yo. So yeah, next week, live, right here on the Kitus. Yeah.
You
know.
Sound like Super Story.
Pardon?
Sound like Super Story.
Super Story. This is Super Story. Na 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 na. Na 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 na. Who remembers Papa Jasco?
Is my mom.
End of the day.
Character I remember. I never remember his face.
Who? Whose face?
I just remember his.
Papa Jasco and Boy Alinko.
Oh, bro, I saw a picture of Papa Jasco recently. I was just like, that's hilarious.
Papa Jasco is a legend, man.
Yeah.
Those were the people. Those were the people who formed the foundation of Nigerian entertainment. Now look at what it has become. We have to like pay homage to those guys, man. They're legends. Proper legends. In the days when technology was not helping people, they were fighting against the technology to make the stuff.
No, but they actually.
Pardon?
Yeah, it's actually sick. You know Alibaba?
Yeah.
Like he's a full businessman. He hires comedians. He has. Oh
yeah. I heard. Yeah.
Basking man for
Nigerians have
places.
Zeal, some kind of like drive. No, but I'm not sure I know any country that can match that thing. The only country that can possibly match it is their culture. It's not really that they do stuff because they like it. And I think Nigerians one is better because like Nigerians were self-driven. China is culture-driven. Pardon? Yeah. Hello?
We are live. So
hello? Hello?
Manuel, we are still live.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, we rounded up. All right. Peace. Later, guys. Yeah.